Some winter mornings arrive with a weight that has nothing to do with the cold. The sky hangs low over Portland, gray and heavy, pressing down on the city like a hand that won't let go. The temperature reads 28 degrees, but numbers mean nothing when grief is the real weather living inside your chest. David Morrison stands at his office window on the 28th floor of Morrison Pharmaceuticals. Below him, the Willamette River moves in slow, dark currents. Beyond the glass, the city spreads out in all directions, steel and concrete, traffic lights changing colors for people who still have somewhere important to be. He used to be one of those people. He used to believe the numbers on the spreadsheets in front of him actually mattered. The conference room behind him buzzes with voices. 12 directors sit around the polished table discussing fourth quarter projections. Revenue climbed to $850 million. Profit margins increased by 18%. Stock prices remain stable. His assistant, Jennifer, is presenting slides with confident efficiency. Charts angle upward in neat green lines. Everything looks healthy. Everything looks like success. David's reflection stares back at him from the window. 45 years old, expensive suit tailored to fit his frame, hair going silver at the temples. He looks like a man who has everything under control. He looks like the kind of CEO you see on magazine covers, standing with arms crossed, gazing towards some bright future only he can see. But today is February 9th, and if Sophie were still alive, she would be turning 9 years old. The thought arrives like a blade between his ribs. Sharp, sudden, stealing his breath. He turns from the window. The room falls silent. 12 pairs of eyes fix on him, waiting. Jennifer pauses mid-sentence, her hand frozen on the remote. The projector hums in the quiet. On the screen behind her, a graph shows pharmaceutical sales trending upward for the next 3 quarters. David's voice comes out rough, like something dragged across gravel. "I need air." He walks out before anyone can respond. The heavy door closes behind him with a soft click that somehow sounds louder than it should. In the hallway, fluorescent lights buzz overhead. His footsteps echo on polished floors. He passes his office without stopping. His coat hangs on the rack inside, but he doesn't go back for it. He just keeps walking toward the elevators, toward the exit, toward anywhere that isn't here. The memory arrives unbidden as the elevator descends. Sophie in her hospital bed, thin arms folded across her chest, looking up at him with those serious brown eyes that always seemed too old for her face. The machines beside her beeped in steady rhythm. The IV drip counted seconds in clear drops. She had asked him a question that day. Her voice was small but certain. "Daddy, why do numbers matter more than people?" He remembers how the question stopped him, how he had no good answer, how he said something about numbers helping people, about medicine and business and making sure families could afford treatment. But even as the words left his mouth, they tasted hollow. Sophie had simply nodded, the way children do when they know the adults don't really understand. Then she had gone back to her drawing. Windows with blue skies, clouds shaped like cotton candy, birds flying free. The elevator doors open to the ground floor. David steps into the marble lobby. Security guards nod as he passes. He pushes through the revolving doors and cold air hits his face like a slap. He welcomes it. The sting feels real in a way nothing else has for the past 6 months. He starts walking with no destination in mind. His dress shoes weren't made for this. They slip slightly on the icy sidewalk. His breath creates small clouds that disappear almost instantly. Around him, the city moves with morning purpose. People in heavy coats hurry past, clutching coffee cups, checking phones, late for meetings that matter to them. David walks for 45 minutes through streets that blurred together. He passes the waterfront, the Pearl District, blocks of shops just opening their doors. His hands go numb. His ears burn from the cold. He doesn't care. The physical discomfort is easier to bear than what sits inside his chest. He finds himself standing in front of a small cafe. Riverside Cafe, the sign reads in brass letters above the door. A bell hangs over the entrance. Through the fogged windows, he can see warm yellow light. The smell of coffee and toasted bread drifts out whenever the door opens. He knows this place. He and Sophie used to come here every Sunday morning. She would order hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. He would get black coffee, and they would sit by the window, and she would draw pictures on the paper napkins while he read the news on his phone. Simple. Perfect. Gone. His hand reaches for the door handle. The bell rings as he steps inside. The cafe wraps around him like an embrace he doesn't deserve. Heat from the radiators mixes with the scent of Arabica beans and butter on the griddle. A dozen small tables crowd the space. Most are occupied by early customers. A young woman sits typing on a laptop. An older couple shares a newspaper. Two construction workers in paint-splattered clothes eat breakfast sandwiches in comfortable silence. Behind the counter, a barista in her mid-20s wipes down the espresso machine. Sarah, her name tag reads. She has kind eyes and tired hands. She's seen David before, many times. She knows his order without asking. The owner stands near the cash register. Robert Chen is 52 years old, though his face carries the weight of more years than that. His expression stays locked in a permanent state of careful neutrality. Not friendly, but not hostile. Just closed. Like a door that used to be open, but isn't anymore. David has noticed this about Robert over the months. The way the man's jaw tightens when families with children come in. The way his eyes slide past strollers and high chairs. The way he keeps the cafe atmosphere professional, efficient, never warm. There's a sign taped to the wall near the register, handwritten in block letters. Tables for paying customers only. Management. David walks to his usual spot, a table in the back corner, away from the windows, away from other people. The chair scrapes against the floor as he pulls it out. He sits down heavily. His laptop bag lands on the table, but he doesn't open it. He just stares at the wood grain, at the small scratches and coffee rings accumulated over years. Sarah appears with a cup. Black coffee, no sugar. She sets it down gently and offers a small, sad smile. She doesn't ask if he's okay. She learned months ago that he isn't, and that asking doesn't help. She just leaves the coffee and walks away. Steam rises from the cup in thin, lazy spirals. David wraps his hands around the ceramic, letting the heat seep into his frozen fingers. The warmth helps, a little, not enough. He thinks about the spreadsheets waiting in his office, the meetings he just abandoned, the assistant probably calling his cell phone right now, wondering if he's coming back. He should care. He built that company from nothing. 15 years of 18-hour days, of calculated risks and careful strategy, of turning a small biotech startup into a major pharmaceutical player. It all feels meaningless now. What good are profit margins when they couldn't save his daughter? What good is success when it comes home to an empty house? The bell over the door rings again. David doesn't look up. More customers, more morning routines. The world continuing like nothing happened. Like little girls don't die in hospital beds while their fathers sign insurance forms and beg for experimental treatments that cost more than most people make in 10 years. Then he hears it, a small voice, hesitant, young. "Excuse me, sir." David lifts his head. Standing beside his table is a child, 6 years old, maybe 7. She wears a pink knit hat that has seen too many winters. The color has faded to something pale and tired. Her coat is too thin for February weather. Old Navy brand, size for a 4-year-old, hanging loose but not long enough to cover her wrists. Her shoes are damp at the toes. Skechers knockoffs, Velcro straps coming undone. But it's her hands that catch his attention. Small fingers, red from cold, clutching a stuffed bear. The bear is brown, worn nearly smooth in places. One ear sags lower than the other. And on its belly, there's a patch. A small rectangle of fabric sewn on with uneven stitches. Rainbow stripes. David's throat goes tight. Sophie used to sew patches like that. Mismatched colors, crooked lines. She said it made her stuffed animals braver. The little girl shifts her weight from foot to foot. Her breath still comes in quick puffs from the cold outside. She looks at David with eyes that are too careful, too aware. Eyes that have learned to measure how much space she's allowed to take up before someone tells her to move along. She speaks again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I sit here, sir? I just need a place that feels warm." The question hangs in the air between them. Simple words, enormous weight. David should say no. He should tell her to find her parents. He should protect himself from this moment because he knows somewhere deep in his bones that letting this child into his space will cost him something. But those eyes, that patch on the bear, the way her small body trembles from more than just the cold. His head nods before he can stop it. A small movement, barely perceptible from across the room, but the girl sees it. Relief washes over her face like warm water. Her shoulders drop an inch. Her grip on the bear loosens slightly. She pulls out the chair across from him. The legs scrape. She climbs onto the seat, sitting up very straight. Her back doesn't touch the chair. She's been taught to make herself small, to take up minimal space, to not be a bother. She sets the bear on the table carefully. Then she cups her hands together and blows warm air into them. Once, twice, 3 times. Her fingers are so cold they're almost purple at the tips. David watches this. Something in his chest cracks. Not breaking, just shifting, like ice beginning to thaw. Sarah appears at his elbow, looking uncertain. She glances at the little girl, then at David, then toward the counter where Robert stands watching with a frown. David doesn't wait for the question. "Warm milk," he says. His voice sounds strange to his own ears, like he hasn't used it properly in months. "And a grilled cheese sandwich." Sarah's expression softens. She nods and hurries away. From across the room, Robert Chen moves toward them. His footsteps are deliberate, his face set. David knows what's coming. Robert stops at the edge of their table. He looks at the little girl with an expression that might be concern or might be irritation. It's hard to tell. Then he looks at David. "Mr. Morrison." His voice is low but firm. "We have a policy about unaccompanied minors. If she's not ordering—" "She is ordering," David interrupts. His tone stays even, polite, but there's steel underneath. The CEO voice, the one that ends arguments. "She's my guest. Add it to my tab." Robert's jaw works. For a moment, it seems like he might push back. His eyes flick to the little girl again. Something passes across his face. Pain, maybe. Pain. Bold and buried deep. Then he nods once and walks away without another word. The little girl has gone very still. Her hands are frozen in her lap. She stares at the table like she's waiting for someone to tell her she did something wrong, that she has to leave now, that the warm seat isn't for her after all. David speaks quietly, gently. "It's okay." She looks up at him, those careful eyes searching his face. Sarah returns with the warm milk and sandwich. She sets them down in front of the girl with extra care. There's a small cookie on the plate too, a sugar cookie shaped like a star. Sarah whispers something about it coming with the meal, then slips away. The little girl stares at the food like she's seeing a mirage, like if she reaches for it, it might disappear. "Go ahead," David says. "It's for you." She picks up the sandwich with both hands. She takes a small bite, chews slowly, savors it. David watches her eat. She doesn't wolf the food down. Instead, she eats with strange deliberation, making each bite last, making the warmth and fullness stretch as long as possible. Halfway through the sandwich, she breaks off a corner and slips it into her coat pocket. Quick, practiced, like she's done this many times before. David's heart clenches. She's saving food, for later, for when there won't be anyone to buy her a meal. He looks away, gives her privacy, pretends he didn't see. The cafe hums around them, espresso machine hissing. Low conversations, the scrape of forks on plates. Outside, snow begins to fall in small, tentative flakes. The city keeps moving. But at this table, time slows to something gentler. The little girl finishes her milk. She wipes her mouth with the back of her hand, then seems to remember herself and uses the napkin instead. She looks at David with something like gratitude and something like fear. "Thank you, sir." Her voice is so small. "I won't stay long. I promise I won't be trouble." David doesn't know what to say. His throat feels full of words that won't come out right. Instead, he just nods. Then, because he can't help himself, he asks, "Where's your adult? You're a parent?" The girl's eyes drop. She picks at the edge of her sleeve. "My Aunt Christine is busy. She works nights. She doesn't like when I stay places too long. I just needed to get warm. Just for a minute." "Have you eaten? Besides this, I mean." "Today." She shakes her head. "I'll get something later." Maybe. The maybe hangs heavy. David should ask more questions. He should find out where this child lives, who's supposed to be caring for her, why she's wandering alone in February cold with no gloves and a coat that doesn't fit. But before he can speak, the girl's eyes drift to the window. She stares out at the falling snow with an expression that's far too old for her face. Resigned, accepting, like winter is just another thing to endure. Then she says something that makes David's entire world tilt. This milk is warm, like the milk at the hospital when I was little. David goes very still. Hospital? She nods, still looking out the window. I don't remember much, just white rooms and machines that beeped, and she pauses. Her voice gets even quieter. A friend. A friend? Now she looks at him, those brown eyes serious and sad. A girl. She was older than me. She drew pictures. Beautiful pictures of windows with clouds and birds. She said we'd fly through them someday when we got better. She said the clouds taste like cotton candy up there. David can't breathe, can't move. The cafe noise fades to static. All he can hear is the blood rushing in his ears. Windows with clouds. Cotton candy. Sophie. His hand trembles as he reaches for his coffee. He doesn't trust his voice. If he speaks now, he'll shatter. The little girl keeps talking, lost in memory. She was so nice. When I was scared of the machines, she taught me to count the beeps. 1, 2, 3. She said they were just the machines talking to each other, saying everything would be okay. That's exactly what Sophie used to say. Word for word. I don't remember her name, the girl continues. Something with an S, maybe? Or an E? The nurses said it soft, like they didn't want to wake her up. David forces words through his constricted throat. What happened to her? The girl's face falls. One day she wasn't in her bed anymore. A nurse said she went to another room to rest. I never saw her again. But she picks up her bear, hugs it close. A nurse gave me this. She said my friend wanted me to have it, to remember her. David stares at the bear, at the rainbow patch, at the worn fur from being clutched through long nights by small, scared hands. Sophie had a bear like this, made by her grandmother. She kept it in her hospital bed. She sewed that exact patch on its belly one afternoon when she was feeling strong enough to thread a needle. This is Sophie's bear. This little girl was Sophie's roommate. The realization crashes over him like a wave. Sophie talked about her, the little girl in the next bed, the one who was only 4 years old and so frightened. Sophie spent her last weeks comforting this child, teaching her to count beeps, drawing windows to give her hope. And now, 6 months after Sophie died, this child has walked into his cafe and sat at his table and asked for warmth. Coincidence doesn't feel like a strong enough word for what this is. The girl checks an invisible watch. I should go. My aunt will be mourn if I'm late. Thank you for the food, sir. It was really good. She slides off the chair, clutching her bear. She's about to walk away, about to disappear back into the cold and whatever hard life she came from. David's voice stops her. Wait, she turns, looks at him with those two careful eyes. He wants to ask her name. He wants to tell her about Sophie. He wants to gather this child up and make sure she never has to be cold or hungry or scared again. But he can't. Not yet. Not when his grief is this raw and his mind is this scrambled and he doesn't even know what this means. So instead he just says, be safe out there. She nods, offers a tiny smile. Then she turns and walks to the door. The bell rings, cold air rushes in, and just like that, she's gone. David sits in the silence she left behind. His coffee has gone cold. His hands shake. Across the room, Sarah watches him with worried eyes. Robert Chen has returned to the register, his expression unreadable. David looks at the empty chair across from him, at the crumbs left on the plate, at the smudge of a small handprint on the table surface. Sophie's roommate, the child his daughter tried to protect in those final weeks. She just sat here, ate at his table, then walked back out into winter with nothing but a thin coat and a teddy bear. For the first time in 6 months, David Morrison feels something other than emptiness. He feels purpose. The next morning arrives the same way the one before it did. Gray ski, cold air. Portland wrapped in February gloom. David wakes at 5:30 from a sleep that never really came. He lies in bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows shift as early light tries to break through the clouds. He hasn't told anyone about the girl, not his assistant, not his therapist, not the grief counselor the hospital recommended. The encounter feels too fragile to share. Like if he speaks it out loud, he'll discover it was just his broken mind conjuring ghosts. But the memory of her face stays sharp. The pink hat, the bear with the rainbow patch, the way she ate that sandwich like it might be her only meal of the day. By 6:15, David is dressed and driving through empty streets toward the cafe. He tells himself he's just going for coffee, that this is part of his routine, that he's not hoping to see her again. He arrives at 6:45. The cafe isn't open yet. Sarah is inside, turning on lights, starting the espresso machine. She sees him through the window and unlocks the door early. "You're here earlier than usual, Mr. Morrison." He nods, orders black coffee, sits at the same table, waits. 7 o'clock comes and goes. No pink hat, no little girl. 7:30, still nothing. David pretends to work on his laptop. He opens spreadsheets he doesn't read, types emails he doesn't send. All the while, his eyes drift to the door every time the bell rings. At 7:45, she appears. The pink hat is more crooked today. Her coat has a new stain on the sleeve. She walks in slowly like she's testing whether the world will let her take up space today or push her back out into the cold. Her eyes find David's table. Recognition sparks, then uncertainty. Like maybe yesterday was a one-time kindness and she shouldn't expect it twice. David catches her gaze, nods toward the empty chair. Relief floods her small face. She hurries over, climbing into the seat with the same careful posture. Back straight, bare on the table, hands cupped together, breathing warmth into frozen fingers. Sarah comes over without being asked. She looks at David, who nods. Warm milk, toast with butter. Sarah adds a small bowl of fruit without mentioning it. The little girl stares at the food when it arrives. Her eyes well up slightly, like kindness is a language she's not used to hearing. "Thank you," she whispers. She eats. David watches over the rim of his coffee cup, trying not to be obvious, trying not to scare her with too much attention. When she's halfway through the toast, he speaks. "What's your name?" She pauses mid-chew, swallows carefully. "Maya." "Maya," he repeats, testing how it sounds. "I'm David." "I know." She says it so quietly he almost misses it. "Sarah told me. She said you're a good man who lost someone." David's throat tightens. Of course Sarah said that. Kind Sarah who sees more than people realize. "Yeah," he manages. "I did." Maya nods like she understands. And maybe she does. Maybe loss recognizes loss. They sit in silence for a while. It's not uncomfortable. Just careful. Two people who've both learned that the world breaks things, trying to figure out if this moment is safe. Then footsteps approach. Heavy, deliberate. Robert Chen stands at their table. His face carries that same tight expression, that look of a man forcing himself through something difficult. "Mr. Morrison?" Robert's voice is strained. "I appreciate your patronage, but this is becoming a pattern. The girl can't make this a habit without purchasing." "She is purchasing," David interrupts, calm but firm. "I'm purchasing for her. Is there a problem with that?" Robert's jaw clenches. He looks at Maya, who has gone very small in her chair. Then he looks back at David. People are starting to talk, to wonder. A grown man buying food for a child who's not his. The implication hangs ugly in the air. David's voice drops to something cold, something that reminds Robert exactly who he's talking to. "Are you suggesting something inappropriate, Robert?" "No, I'm just saying it looks strange. You understand." "What I understand," David says slowly, "is that a 6-year-old child is cold and hungry. What I understand is that basic human decency seems to have become controversial. What I don't understand is why a cafe owner would rather see a child go without food than risk gossip from customers he doesn't even like." The words land like stones. Robert's face flushes, his mouth opens, closes, opens again. "You don't know anything about me," he says. Quiet, almost a whisper. Then help me understand. For a moment, something cracks in Robert's expression. Some old pain trying to surface, but he pushes it down, locks it away, turns and walks back to the counter without another word. Maya hasn't moved. She sits frozen, staring at her half-eaten toast like it might be taken away any second. David leans forward slightly. You're okay, Maya. You can finish eating. She looks up at him, those careful eyes searching. Why are you nice to me? The question catches him off guard. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that she reminds you of everything you lost? That her bear carries your daughter's name in crooked stitches? That Sophie asked you, in her last days, to find someone who needed help? And here this child is like an answered prayer you didn't know you'd prayed. You don't. Not yet. So David just says, because you deserve kindness. Everyone does. Maya doesn't look convinced, but she picks up her toast and keeps eating. Over the next week, a pattern forms. Every morning, Maya appears, sometimes at 7:30, sometimes later. Never before 7, she sits at David's home. He buys her breakfast. They don't talk much, just exist in the same space, finding warmth in proximity. David learns small things. Maya lives with her Aunt Christine in the Park Rose area. Her mother died a year ago in a car accident. Christine works as a dealer at Spirit Mountain Casino, night shift. Maya spends a lot of time alone. He learns she misses school some days, that she does chores for neighbors to earn a few dollars, that she's cold most of the time because the apartment heat doesn't work well and her aunt can't afford to fix it. Each morning, Robert watches from the counter. His frown deepens. Other customers notice. A woman in yoga clothes whispers to her friend, glancing at their table. A businessman shakes his head like David is doing something shameful. But Sarah defends them. David overhears her one morning, speaking sharply to a regular who made a comment. That little girl has nobody, and he's making sure she has something warm in her belly. If you have a problem with that, you can take your judgmental attitude somewhere else. David catches Sarah's eye and nods his thanks. She nods back. On Thursday morning, Maya arrives later than usual. 8:15. Her eyes are red. There's a fresh bruise on her wrist, purple and finger-shaped. David sees it when she reaches for her milk. His blood goes cold. Maya, your wrist. What happened? She pulls her sleeve down quickly. I fell. I'm clumsy. She's lying. He knows she's lying, but he also knows pushing too hard will make her retreat. If someone is hurting you, he begins. Nobody's hurting me, she says quickly. Too quickly. My aunt she gets stressed. She doesn't mean, it's fine, I'm fine. She's not fine. Nothing about this is fine. David makes a decision. He pulls out his phone. Maya, I'm going to give you my number. If you ever need help, if you're scared or hurt or just need somewhere safe, you call me, okay? She stares at the number he writes on a napkin, like she's never been given an emergency contact before. Okay, she whispers. That afternoon, David does something he's never done. He follows Maya when she leaves the cafe. Not close, just far enough to see where she goes. To know where she lives, she walks 12 blocks through dirty snow. Her thin coat provides almost no protection. She stops twice to warm her hands in her pockets. Once, she pauses outside a grocery store, staring at the display of fresh fruit like it's treasure behind glass. Finally, she arrives at Park Rose Apartments, a 3-story building that's seen better decades. Paint peeling, graffiti on the side, a broken playground in the courtyard with swings hanging from rusted chains. Maya climbs the exterior stairs to the second floor. Unit 2C, she knocks, waits, knocks again. The door opens. A woman appears, late 30s. Bleached blonde hair pulled into a messy ponytail, makeup smeared around tired eyes. She's wearing a casino uniform. Night shift must have just ended. The woman's mouth moves. David can't hear the words from his car, but the body language tells the story. Angry gestures, finger pointing, Maya shrinking smaller and smaller. Then the woman pulls Maya inside. The door slams. David sits in his car for a long time, staring at that closed door. At the apartment where a 6-year-old girl lives in fear, where kindness is scarce and warmth is rationed, and childhood is something that got lost somewhere along the way. His phone buzzes. Work emails, meeting requests, his assistant asking when he'll be back in the office. The world wanting him to care about quarterly earnings and market share and pharmaceutical patents. He deletes them all. Then he makes a phone call. Oregon Children's Hospital, how may I direct your call? Pediatric ward, I need to speak with Nurse Grace Martinez. One moment, please. The hold music plays. David's heart pounds. This might be nothing. This might be his grief-stricken mind making connections that don't exist. Or this might be exactly what he thinks it is. Sophie's last gift, her final wish. Find the girl in the pink hat. Help her. Save her. The music stops. This is Grace. David takes a breath. Grace, this is David Morrison, Sophie's father. I need to ask you about her roommate. Silence on the line. Then Grace's voice, careful and kind. I was wondering when you'd call. Grace Martinez's voice on the phone carries the weight of 18 years in pediatric nursing. 18 years of watching children fight battles their bodies are too small to win. 18 years of holding hands through treatments that hurt worse than the disease. 18 years of knowing which families will make it and which ones will shatter. Mr. Morrison, she says, and there's something in her tone. Recognition, inevitability. Like she's been waiting for this call. I've thought about you often. David sits in his car outside Park Rose Apartments, watching snow collect on the windshield. His breath fogs the glass. Sophie had a roommate, a little girl, 4 years old at the time. Maya Walker, Grace confirms, no hesitation. I remember her very well. Is she the same child? The one Sophie talked about? The one who was so scared of the machines? Grace's exhale travels through the phone line. Yes, that's her. Sweet child. Her mother brought her in with severe aplastic anemia, similar to Sophie's case, but not quite as advanced. We managed to stabilize her with transfusions and medication. She responded better than we hoped. David's hands tighten on the steering wheel. What happened to her mother? Mrs. Walker died about 13 months ago. Car accident on I-84. Drunk driver crossed the median. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The words land with clinical precision. Grace has delivered this kind of news too many times. She knows how to make tragedies sound like simple fact because that's the only way to get through the day. Maya went to live with her aunt after that, Grace continues. Christine Walker, the younger sister, we tried to maintain contact for follow-up care. Maya still needs monitoring. Blood counts every 6 months, but they moved, changed phone numbers. We lost them in the system. How does a child with a serious medical condition just fall through the cracks? It happens more than you'd think, Mr. Morrison. The system is designed for people who can navigate paperwork and insurance and appointment scheduling. When families are struggling just to survive, medical follow-ups become a luxury they can't afford. We send letters, we make calls, but if no one answers, if addresses don't match records, if the aunt is working night shifts and can't take time off, Grace trails away. The explanation doesn't excuse the failure, but it explains it. David watches a curtain move in apartment 2C, a shadow passes behind the window. I've been buying her breakfast, he says, every morning for a week. She comes to a cafe downtown, alone, in the cold, with a bear that Sophie gave her. Silence stretches between them. Then Grace's voice comes back quieter. Sophie gave her that bear 3 days before she passed, made me promise to deliver it when the time came. Maya cried for hours. She didn't understand why Sophie was gone. She kept asking when her friend would come back to draw more windows. David closes his eyes. The image forms sharp and painful. 2 little girls in hospital beds. One teaching the other how to be brave. One giving away her most precious possession because she knew she wouldn't need it where she was going. Grace, I need to see you in person. There's something, I think Sophie left something for me, and I think it has to do with Maya. Another pause. Then Grace says the words that change everything. I have a letter, Mr. Morrison. Sophie wrote it in her last week. She made me promise to give it to you when you were ready, when you looked sad enough that you needed it. I was going to mail it next month, but if you want to come to the hospital, I'm coming now. Oregon Children's Hospital stands like a monument to both hope and anti-heartbreak. Its modern facade tries to project optimism with bright colors and playful architecture. But David knows what lives inside those walls. The smell of antiseptic that never quite covers the scent of fear. the too cheerful artwork on the walls, the quiet desperation in the family waiting areas. He hasn't been back since Sophie's memorial service 6 months ago. The hospital had offered use of their chapel, a small gathering, mostly nurses and doctors who had cared for her, a few executives from Morrison Pharmaceuticals who felt obligated to attend. David remembered very little of it, just the weight of the small urn in his hands and the knowledge that everything good in his life now fit inside a container the size of a coffee canister. Now he walks through the sliding glass doors and the memories hit like physical blows. The lobby where he used to buy Sophie magazines from the gift shop. The elevator bank where they'd take slow rides up to the fourth floor because she was too weak to handle the stairs. The hallway that always smelled like industrial floor cleaner and sadness. Grace meets him on the fourth floor. She looks exactly as he remembers. Early 40s, dark hair pulled back in a practical bun, scrubs with cartoon characters that are meant to make children smile, tired eyes that have seen too much. Mr. Morrison. She doesn't offer a hug. She's too professional for that, but her handshake carries warmth. Thank you for coming. Thank you for keeping it. The letter. Sophie was very specific about when you should receive it. She said you'd know the right time. Grace gestures down the hallway. My break room is quiet. We can talk there. They walk past rooms that look identical to the one where Sophie spent her final months. David forces himself not to look inside, forces himself to keep moving forward. The break room is small, a table, a few chairs, a refrigerator covered in thank you cards from families whose children survived. David wonders if his name is on any of those cards. He contributed anonymously to the hospital's financial aid program after Sophie's diagnosis. $200,000 spread across 3 years, enough to help dozens of families afford treatment. Grace opens her locker and removes a manila envelope. It's worn at the edges, handled carefully but often, like she's held it many times, wondering if today was the day to deliver it. The envelope has one word written on the front in Sophie's uneven child handwriting. Daddy. David's vision blurs. He takes the envelope with hands that shake. The paper feels impossibly light. How can something so small carry so much weight? I'll give you privacy, Grace says. She moves toward the door. Wait, David looks up. Tell me about them. Sophie and Maya. What were they like together? Grace leans against the door frame. A small smile touches her face. The first genuine smile he's seen from her. And Sophie appointed herself Maya's protector from day one. Maya was so little, so scared. The machines terrified her. Every beep made her jump. She cried for her mother constantly. And Sophie, your daughter, had this gentle way about her. She'd reach across the gap between their beds and hold Maya's hand. She'd make up stories about where the beeping sounds came from. Told her the machines were just robots having conversations. Made Maya laugh when she should have been crying. The words paint pictures David can see with perfect clarity. Sophie had always been like that, finding ways to make hard things bearable, turning pain into something manageable through imagination and kindness. They drew together, Grace continues, Sophie on her bed, Maya on hers, both of them with crayons and paper, creating worlds outside those white walls. Sophie drew windows because she wanted Maya to remember there was sky beyond the hospital. Wanted her to know that even when you're trapped somewhere, you can still imagine freedom. And the bear? Sophie knew, I think she knew before any of us admitted it, that she wasn't going to make it. She got very calm those last few days, started giving things away. Her favorite books to the playroom, her art supplies to other kids on the ward. And her bear, she held it for a long time that last afternoon. Then she called me over and asked me to give it to Maya. Said Maya would need something to hold on to when things got scary. David can't speak. His throat has closed completely. Grace straightens. Read the letter, Mr. Morrison. Sophie was wise beyond her years. I think you'll find what you need. She leaves. The door closes with a soft click. David sits alone in the break room. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. Somewhere in the building, a child is crying. Somewhere else, a family is receiving good news. The hospital contains multitudes, all of human experience compressed into these sterile halls. He opens the envelope. The letter is written on lined paper torn from a spiral notebook. Sophie's handwriting wanders across the page. Some words are spelled wrong. Some letters are backwards. She was 8 years old and very sick when she wrote this. But every word's deliberate, every sentence carries purpose. Dear Daddy, if you're reading this, it means I'm not there anymore. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer. I really tried. Daddy, I need you to do something for me. There's a little girl named Maya in the bed next to mine. She's only 4 years old. I'm 8, so I'm the big sister. Her mommy has to work a lot, so she's alone sometimes. I've been keeping her company. Maya is scared of the dark. I taught her to count the beeping sounds, 1, 2, 3, until she falls asleep. She likes when I draw windows with clouds. She says clouds look like cotton candy. Daddy promised me you'll find Maya someday. Not right away, you'll be too sad. But when you're ready to smile again, find her. She's going to need someone. I'm giving her my teddy bear, the one Grandma made. I sewed a rainbow patch on it. See? Maya said rainbows mean hope. Daddy, you're the best daddy in the whole world. You always said numbers matter because they help people. But Maya taught me that people matter more than numbers. Please help her, Daddy. She'll help you too. She has the kindest heart. I love you to the moon and back and all the stars. Love, Sophie. P.S. Tell her I'm flying through one of those windows now. And the clouds really do taste like cotton candy. David reads it 3 times, then a fourth. Each time, different words jump out at him. Different pieces of his daughter's final thoughts reaching across the months to guide him. When you're ready to smile again, find her. He's not ready to smile. Doesn't know if he'll ever be ready, but he found her anyway. Or she found him. Walked into that cafe in a pink hat with Sophie's bear under her arm, like an answer to a prayer he didn't know how to pray. She's going to need someone. Maya needs more than someone. She needs safety, stability, medical care, a childhood that doesn't involve walking alone through winter cold to beg for a warm seat in a cafe. People matter more than numbers. David has built his entire career on numbers: market analysis, profit margins, drug efficacy rates, clinical trial statistics. He's reduced human suffering to data points on spreadsheets because that's how you run a pharmaceutical company. That's how you make decisions that affect thousands of lives. But what good are those numbers if they don't save the one child sitting right in front of you? He folds the letter carefully, returns it to the envelope, sits in the quiet break room while his entire understanding of the last 6 months reorganizes itself. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't random chance. This was Sophie's last act of love. Not just for Maya, for him. She knew he'd be lost without her, knew he'd need a reason to keep going. So she gave him one. Find Maya, help her, save her. The memory arrives unbidden as David sits with Sophie's letter. Grace had painted the picture with words. Now David's mind fills in the details with the clarity of grief that won't let go. So Buffy in room 412, 18 months ago, before the final decline, when there was still hope that experimental treatments might work, when the numbers on her blood counts still fluctuated in ways that suggested her body was fighting back. The room had 2 beds. Sophie took the one by the window because she was there first. Because at 8 years old, she understood the small mercies of natural light when you're trapped inside white walls. Maya arrived on a Tuesday afternoon. 4 years old, so small the hospital gown swallowed her whole. Her mother carried her in, a woman in her mid-30s wearing a Safeway uniform. Dark circles under her eyes that spoke of double shifts and single parenting and fear that goes bone deep when your child is sick. Sophie watched them settle in, watched the nurses hook Maya to monitors, watched the little girl's eyes go wide with terror at every beep and hiss and mechanical sound. That first night, Maya cried, soft, hiccuping sobs that she tried to muffle in her pillow. Her mother had gone home to sleep a few hours before her morning shift. The nurses checked vital signs but couldn't stay. There was always another room, another crisis, another child needing attention. Sophie reached across the gap between their beds, her arm barely long enough to bridge the distance. Her hand found Maya's in the dark. Hey, little one, don't be scared. Those beeps are just the machines talking to each other. Maya's crying quieted. What are they saying? They're saying you're going to be okay. Listen. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, okay, okay. A small laugh, barely there but real. That's silly. Silly things help when you're scared. My name's Sophie. What's yours? Maya. That's a pretty name. Do you want to be friends, Maya? Okay. And just like that, they were. The days that followed established a rhythm. Maya's mother arrived early, stayed until visiting hours ended, left reluctantly. Sophie's father came every evening after work, sat with his laptop and his worry and his desperate attempts to find treatments that insurance might actually cover. During the long hours in between, Sophie and Maya created their own world. Sophie taught Maya to count in different languages: English, Spanish, French. Numbers became a game instead of a reminder of falling blood counts and rising costs. She taught Maya the alphabet through songs, drew letters on construction paper with markers the recreation therapist brought around. Maya's small fingers gripped crayons awkwardly at first, then with growing confidence, but mostly, Sophie drew windows. Why windows? Maya asked one afternoon while Sophie sketched another frame with blue sky beyond. Because we can't go outside right now, but we can imagine. Close your eyes, Maya. Can you feel the sun? Maya closed her eyes. Yes. Can you smell the grass? Yes. Can you hear the birds? Yes. That's your window. You can open it anytime you're scared or lost or lonely. Just close your eyes and step through. Maya opened her eyes, looked at Sophie with something like worship. You're magic. No, just practiced at being brave. One Tuesday, Maya's blood counts dropped dangerously low. Emergency transfusion. Doctors moving with urgent efficiency. Maya's mother called away from work, arriving in her Safeway uniform with panic written across her face. Sophie watched from her bed as they worked. After the crisis passed, after Maya's mother was allowed back in, Sophie heard the conversation. The doctor explaining complications, the social worker discussing costs, insurance covering 60%, the remaining 40% coming to $80,000. Payment plans available but still crushing for someone making $32,000 a year. Maya's mother crying quietly. I'm already working 2 jobs. I don't know. Sophie's father had been there that evening. David heard it too. The next day, he made an anonymous donation to the hospital's financial assistance fund, $50,000 earmarked for families facing bankruptcy for medical bills. He never told anyone, especially not Maya's mother. Pride matters when you have nothing else. The days turned to weeks. Sophie grew weaker. The experimental treatments weren't working. The numbers everyone watched so carefully were trending in the wrong direction. But she never stopped drawing windows for Maya, never stopped teaching her to be brave, never stopped reaching across the gap between their beds to hold a smaller hand through the darkness. 3 days before Sophie died, she called Grace over. Nurse Grace, I need you to do something for me. Anything, sweetheart. Sophie held up her bear, the one her grandmother made before dementia took her away, the one with the rainbow patch Sophie had sewn on herself during a good afternoon when her hands were steady. When I'm gone, can you give this to Maya? She's going to be so scared. Tell her it's from me. Tell her to hug it when the machines are loud. Tell her, Sophie's voice broke. She was 8 years old and she knew she was dying and she was worried about someone else. Tell her I'll always be her big sister, even when she can't see me. Grace took the bear, promised. Kept that promise 3 days later when Sophie's bed was empty and Maya kept asking where her friend had gone. The memory releases David. He's back in the break room. Grace is gone. The letter rests in his hands, and the weight of what Sophie asked him to do settles like a mantle across his shoulders. Not burden, responsibility, purpose. He stands, folds the letter carefully and tucks it inside his jacket, over his heart. Time to finish what Sophie started. David doesn't go to apartment 2C immediately. He spends the rest of Thursday preparing, making calls, understanding his options, building a plan that might actually work instead of making things worse. He talks to his attorney, Margaret Chen. She specializes in family law, explains Oregon's custody statutes in language that strips away the legal jargon. The basics are simple but harsh. Christine has legal guardianship. Blood relation gives her presumptive rights. Unless David can prove abuse or neglect severe enough to warrant state intervention, his hands are tied. What about voluntary relinquishment? David asks. That would change everything. But from what you've described, Christine isn't there yet. She's defensive, overwhelmed. People in that state don't make rational decisions. So I do nothing? Watch a child suffer while I navigate bureaucracy? Margaret's voice softens. I didn't say do nothing. I said be strategic. Document everything. Keep records of every interaction with Maya. If she's malnourished, get medical evidence. If she's missing school, get attendance records. Build a case, but David, it takes time, months sometimes, maybe longer. I don't have months. Then prepare for a fight. Friday morning, David returns to Riverside Cafe at 7. Maya arrives at 7:20. Her pink hat is crooked. Her coat has a new tear at the shoulder. She climbs into her usual seat without asking. The routine has become permission. Robert brings warm milk and toast without being prompted. He's stopped fighting this, stopped making it about policy, and started making it about decency. David and Maya eat in comfortable silence. Then he does something he hasn't done before. He asks, Maya, if you could live anywhere, where would you want to be? She looks up, milk mustache on her upper lip. Somewhere warm, where people are nice, where I don't have to be scared. Are you scared a lot? She nods, doesn't elaborate, doesn't need to. The bruises speak loud enough. What if I could help make you safe? Her eyes go wide. How? I'm not sure yet, but I'm working on it. Would you want that? More than anything. The answer is immediate, certain. 6 years old, and already she knows what she needs, even if she doesn't know how to get it. Friday afternoon, David drives to Parkrose Apartments. 3 o'clock. Before Christine's shift starts. Before Maya returns from wherever she spends her days. He climbs the stairs that creak under his weight. The hallway smells like marijuana smoke and old cooking oil. Music thumps from Unit 2A. A baby cries from 2D. Life happening in all its messy, complicated forms. Unit 2C, David knocks. Footsteps inside. The volume on a television drops. The door opens 6 inches, chain lock engaged. Christine's face appears in the gap. Her hair is pulled back in a ponytail that's coming undone. Her eyes are red-rimmed. She's wearing sweatpants and a tank top. The exhaustion of someone who works nights and never catches up on sleep. Yeah? Christine Walker? Who wants to know? My name is David Morrison. I'm a friend of Maya's mother. The lie slides out smooth. Not technically true, but close enough. He knew Mrs. Walker through Maya, through Sophie, through the invisible connections that bind people who share hospital waiting rooms. Christine's eyes narrow. I don't know you. My sister's been dead over a year. I know. I'm sorry for your loss. I've been helping Maya, buying her breakfast when she comes to the cafe downtown. I wanted to introduce myself. Christine's expression shifts, confusion morphing into suspicion, morphing into something dangerous. You've been what? She comes to Riverside Cafe most mornings. Cold. Hungry. I've been making sure she has something warm. She told you she was hungry? Christine's voice rises. That little liar. I feed her. There's food in this house. I'm not accusing you of anything. I just thought you should know someone's watching out for her. Christine's laugh is sharp and ugly. Oh, that's perfect. Some rich guy playing hero. You think a few meals make you special? You have any idea what it's like raising a kid on casino wages? You know how much her medical bills cost? She's getting louder, more agitated. David keeps his voice calm. I know it's hard. I know you're doing your best. I'm just offering to help. Help? Christine spits the word. You want to help? Then take her. Take her off my hands, because I can't do this anymore. The words hang between them. Not quite serious, but not quite joking either. A moment of raw honesty from someone who's been holding too much for too long. David opens his mouth to respond, but Christine cuts him off. Get out of here. Stop buying my niece breakfast. Stop making her think. She trails off, slams the door. David stands in the hallway, can hear Christine inside, angry muttering, the television volume cranking back up. He knocked. He tried. It didn't work. But at least now Christine knows someone is paying attention. Sometimes that's enough to change behavior. Sometimes it makes things worse. He'll find out which soon enough. Saturday morning, Maya doesn't come to the cafe. Sunday morning, still absent. Monday, David goes to Park Rose Elementary, talks to the secretary, asks about Maya Walker's attendance. The woman checks computer records, frowns. Maya's missed 12 days this semester. We've sent letters home. No response. Is someone checking on her? We filed reports with the truancy office, but with budget cuts, she shrugs. The gesture says everything about systems that fail children while following proper procedure. Tuesday morning, 7:30. The cafe door opens. Maya walks in. But something's different. She moves slower, holds herself differently. When she sits down across from David, he sees why. Her left eye is swollen nearly shut. Purple and black bruise spreading from eyebrow to cheek. Her lip is split, still bleeding slightly where she keeps licking it. David's hands shake. Maya, what happened? I fell down the stairs. The lie is obvious, practiced, the kind of lie children tell when the truth is too dangerous. Maya, I'm clumsy, I told you. Did Christine do this? No, she would never. I just fell, that's all. David pulls out his phone. I'm calling someone. Please don't. Maya's voice breaks. She'll get in trouble. They'll take me away, put me somewhere worse. Please. Her fear is real, more real than the bruises. She's more scared of the unknown than the known violence. Okay, David says quietly. Okay, but this can't keep happening. I know. Will you let me help? She nods, tears streaming down her face now, silent and constant. David makes a decision, the kind you can't take back, the kind that changes everything. Pack a bag tonight, small, just what you need. Tomorrow morning, when you come here, you are not going back to that apartment. Where will I go? Somewhere safe, I promise. Wednesday morning, Maya arrives at 6:55, earlier than ever. She carries a plastic grocery bag. Inside, 2 changes of clothes, a toothbrush, Sophie's bear, everything she owns that matters. David's car is parked outside. He's been there since 6, waiting, hoping she'd come, terrified she wouldn't. He pays for breakfast. They eat quickly. Then they walk out together. Into the cold, into uncertainty, into whatever comes next. He drives east through morning traffic. Maya sits in the passenger seat, silent, clutching her grocery bag. Where are we going? Portland Family Services Center. It's a safe place, people who help kids when things are hard at home. Will I have to stay there? For a little while, until I can make sure you're really safe, until the law says it's okay for you to come home with me. Home with you, if you want that. Maya looks at him, those 2 old eyes searching his face for lies, for false promises, for the disappointment that always seems to follow hope. She doesn't find any. I want that. Then that's what we'll do. The Portland Family Services Center sits in a converted school building in Southeast Portland. Brick facade, large windows, a playground that actually looks maintained. Nothing like the apartment Maya's leaving behind. Inside, the woman at reception has kind eyes. She sees them coming, sees the bruises on Maya's face, sees the plastic bag clutched in small hands. She knows this story. She's seen it 100 times. Can I help you? My name is David Morrison. This is Maya Walker. We need to speak with someone about emergency placement. The woman nods, picks up her phone. Within 5 minutes, a social worker appears. Patricia Johnson is 52, African-American, gray hair pulled back in a bun. She has the calm competence of someone who's navigated family crises for decades. She takes one look at Maya, and her expression doesn't change, but something in her eyes does. Come with me. She leads them to a small office, cheerful posters on the walls. You matter in rainbow letters. Safe space with a heart. Words that mean everything or nothing depending on whether anyone follows through. Patricia sits, invites them to do the same. Pulls out forms but doesn't start writing yet. Just looks at Maya. Hi, sweetheart. I'm Patricia. Can you tell me what happened to your face? Maya looks at David. He nods encouragement. I fell. Did someone push you? Silence. Maya, you're not in trouble. Nobody's in trouble. We just need to know you're safe. More silence, then quietly, so quiet they almost miss it. My aunt gets really mad sometimes. She doesn't mean to. She's just tired. Patricia writes, calm, professional, heartbreak hidden behind training. She asks more questions about Christine, about the apartment, about school, about food, about bruises David hasn't even seen. Maya answers in fragments, pieces of truth revealed slowly like someone learning it's okay to speak. After 20 minutes, Patricia has enough. She steps out, makes phone calls, returns. Maya, we're going to have you stay here tonight, just tonight, so we can make sure you're okay. There's a doctor who's going to check your bruises, make sure nothing's broken. Is that all right? Where's Uncle David going? Patricia looks at David, then back at Maya. Uncle David can visit, but he can't stay overnight. Not yet. There are rules, grown-up rules that don't make sense, but we have to follow them anyway. Maya's grip on the bear tightens. David kneels beside her chair, eye level. I'm not leaving you, Maya. I'm going to be here every day. But Patricia's right. There are steps we have to take. Paperwork, legal things, to make sure nobody can say we did this wrong. Can you be brave for a little while longer? Like Sophie? Exactly like Sophie. Maya nods, sets her jaw, 6 years old facing down a system designed by adults who've forgotten what it's like to be powerless. Okay, I can be brave. Patricia shows them to the residential wing. Rooms that look more like dorm rooms than institution. Bright colors, soft beds, windows with actual curtains. Maya will share a room with another girl her age. Temporary roommates in a temporary situation. A nurse arrives, young, gentle. She examines Maya's injuries with hands that barely touch, takes photos for records, counts bruises, documents everything in clinical language that will later become evidence. When it's done, Maya looks exhausted, the kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. David hugs her. I'll be back tomorrow morning, first thing. We'll figure this out together. Promise? Promise. He leaves, walks out to his car through afternoon light that seems too bright for what just happened, sits behind the wheel, lets himself break. 3 days pass. David visits Maya every morning and every evening, brings books, brings her favorite foods, brings the steady presence of someone who shows up. On day 3, Patricia calls him into her office. I've filed the emergency placement paperwork. Given Maya's injuries and Christine's statement to you that she can't handle this, we have grounds. I've also contacted Child Protective Services. They're investigating the home situation. What happens now? The court reviews the case. Typically takes 72 hours for emergency orders. If they approve, you can apply for temporary guardianship. That process takes longer. Background checks, home study, financial review. Could be 30 days, could be 90. And Maya stays here the whole time? Unless we can find a suitable placement, a relative, or, Patricia pauses, chooses her words carefully. Someone with an established relationship to the child. Someone she trusts. You're talking about me. I'm talking hypothetically. You're not a relative. You've known Maya less than 2 months. Normally, that wouldn't qualify. But she's bonded with you, and given the connection through your daughter, she slides a folder across the desk. Fill these out. I can't promise anything, but I can advocate, explain the situation. Sometimes judges make exceptions when the alternative is foster care with strangers. David takes the folder. How soon? File today. Hearing is Friday. 3 days. Friday morning arrives heavy with significance. David stands in courtroom 4C of the Multnomah County Courthouse. Wood paneling, high ceilings, the weight of law and bureaucracy pressing down. Judge Carol Henderson presides. 60 years old, 20 years on the family court bench. She's heard every story, seen every tragedy. Developed the kind of practiced neutrality that comes from making decisions about children's lives when there are no good options. Patricia presents the case, shows photos of Maya's injuries, reads statements, explains Christine's admission that she can't handle the responsibility. Christine isn't there. Served with papers 2 days ago. Didn't respond. Didn't show up. Her absence speaks volumes. David's attorney, Margaret, presents his side. Stable employment. Financial resources. Clean background check. No criminal history. No record of anything except being a grieving father trying to honor his daughter's last wish. The judge reviews documents, asks questions, looks at David with eyes that have seen countless well-meaning people fail at saving children. Mr. Morrison, you've known this child for 6 weeks. Why should I trust you with her care? David stands. Your Honor, my daughter Sophie died 6 months ago. She and Maya were hospital roommates. Sophie asked me to find Maya, to help her. I'm trying to keep a promise to my daughter while giving Maya the safety she deserves. Promises to the dead don't always serve the living well. No, but this one does. Maya needs someone. I need to be someone who keeps promises. Judge Henderson is silent for a long moment, pen tapping against the bench, weighing scales only she can see. Here's my order. Temporary custody to Mr. Morrison for 30 days. During that time, Maya will receive medical evaluation. Attend school regularly. Mr. Morrison will undergo psychological evaluation to ensure he's fit. We'll reconvene in 30 days to review. If everything looks appropriate, we'll discuss permanent guardianship. If not, she doesn't finish. Doesn't need to. The gavel falls. David's knees almost buckle. Relief and terror in equal measure. He has 30 days to prove he can do this. 30 days to become whatever Maya needs him to be. At the Family Services Center, Patricia brings Maya to the lobby. She's wearing new clothes, jeans that fit, a sweater without holes, someone donated them. Small kindnesses that matter enormously. Ready to go home? David asks. Maya looks up at him. Is it really home? If you want it to be. She takes his hand, walks out with him into February cold that feels less bitter than before, into a car that drives them to a house on the hill where a purple bedroom waits, where Sophie's drawings still cover the walls, where two broken people will try to build something whole from the pieces they have left. The house on Portland's West Hills feels different with Maya in it. Not smaller, but less empty. Her presence fills spaces David didn't know were hollow until sound returned to them. The first night is tentative. Maya stands in the entryway with her plastic grocery bag, looking around at hardwood floors and high ceilings and furniture that costs more than most people make in a month. She doesn't touch anything, just observes with the careful stillness of someone who's learned not to take up too much space. Are you hungry? David asks. She nods. They eat dinner at the kitchen island. Grilled cheese sandwiches because it's all David knows how to make, and Maya's already familiar with them from the cafe. She eats slowly, methodically, still saving part of the sandwich until David tells her there's more if she wants it, that she doesn't have to ration. You can have as much as you need, Maya, always. She finishes the sandwich, asks for another, eats that one too, then looks guilty about it. I ate a lot. You were hungry, that's what food is for. After dinner, David shows her the upstairs, 3 guest bedrooms with neutral paint and furniture that's never been used. And at the end of the hall, Sophie's room. He pauses at the threshold, hand on the doorknob, not sure if he can do this. Maya waits, patient, not pushing. David opens the door. Sophie's world spreads before them, purple bedspread, bookshelves organized by color, a desk with art supplies still scattered like she just stepped away, and covering every wall, drawings. Windows opening onto blue skies, clouds shaped like animals and castles and dreams. Birds flying toward horizons that held promise. Maya walks to the nearest wall, reaches up to touch a drawing with reverent fingers. She made so many. She loved to draw, said it made the hospital feel less like a cage. I remember. Maya traces the outline of a cloud. She drew one for me once with my name in the corner. I lost it when we moved. David's throat tightens. Would you like to sleep here, in Sophie's room, or would you rather have your own space? Maya turns, those 2 old eyes searching his face. Won't it make you sad? Everything makes me sad right now. But you know what would make me happy? Knowing Sophie's room is being used, that her things matter to someone who mattered to her. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. Maya chooses a guest room that night, the one painted pale yellow with windows facing east. Morning light, she explains. She likes waking up to sun. David helps her put sheets on the bed, shows her the bathroom, gives her new pajamas still in the package. Everything soft and clean, and hers. She brushes her teeth at the sink, washes her face, puts on the pajamas that are too big but she doesn't care. Then she stands in the doorway of her room looking uncertain. What if I have a nightmare? Then you come find me. My room is right there. He points to the door across the hall. I sleep light. I'll hear you. Okay. He tucks her in, something he hasn't done in 6 months. The muscle memory returns easily, pulling covers up, smoothing them down, making sure the nightlight is positioned right. Uncle David? Yeah. Thank you for keeping your promise to Sophie. His vision blurs. Thank you for letting me. The 30 days that follow establish a rhythm neither of them expected. School becomes routine. David enrolls Maya at West Hills Elementary, a different world from Park Rose. Smaller classes, more resources, teachers who notice when a student struggles and actually have time to help. Maya thrives, cautiously at first, like she's waiting for permission to succeed. But by week 2, she's bringing home papers with gold stars, talking about a friend named Emma who shares her lunch, asking if she can join the after-school art club. Of course you can. It costs $15. That's fine. For the whole semester? David kneels to her level. Maya, money isn't something you need to worry about. If there's something you want to do, something that makes you happy, we'll figure it out, okay? She nods, but the worry doesn't completely leave her eyes. 6 years of scarcity doesn't disappear in 2 weeks of abundance. Medical appointments fill the calendar. Dr. Sarah Chen at Oregon Children's Hospital becomes familiar. Blood draws every week, monitoring Maya's counts, making sure the anemia stays stable, adjusting medications. Grace assists with everything, translates medical jargon into plain language, holds Maya's hand during the needle sticks, celebrates when the numbers trend in the right direction. Her counts are improving, Grace tells David after week 3. Proper nutrition makes a massive difference. So does reduced stress. She still has nightmares. That will take longer. Trauma doesn't heal on the same timeline as blood counts. The nightmares come 2 or 3 times a week. Maya wakes up crying, calling for her mother, sometimes for Sophie. David hears her across the hall, goes to her room, sits on the edge of the bed while she clings to Sophie's bear and remembers all the things she's lost. He doesn't try to fix it, doesn't offer platitudes about time healing wounds, just sits there, present, steady, proof that not everyone leaves. During the day, they build small traditions. Breakfast at Riverside Cafe every Saturday. Robert always has their table ready, always adds extra fruit to Maya's plate. The cafe has become more than a business to him. It's become a reminder that second chances exist. David also starts working from home more. Morrison Pharmaceuticals doesn't collapse without his constant presence. The company runs itself well enough that he can manage remotely 3 days a week. Video conferences from his study while Maya does homework at the dining table. Both of them in the same house. Both of them less alone. On day 20, Maya moves into Sophie's room. She doesn't announce it, just carries her pajamas and bear across the hall during bedtime routine. Looks at David like she's asking permission without words. You sure? I think Sophie wants me here. I think that's why she gave me the bear. So I'd remember this room is safe. That night, David stands outside Sophie's door listening to Maya breathe. 2 daughters, one in memory, one in present, both teaching him that love doesn't divide, it multiplies. On day 28, Patricia Johnson conducts her home visit. She tours the house, checks that Maya has appropriate space, age-appropriate toys, access to healthy food, all the boxes that bureaucracy requires. But what she really evaluates is harder to measure. The way Maya runs to David when he comes home from the office, the way she shows him her drawings without being asked, the way she laughs at his terrible jokes, the way she started calling him dad when she thinks he can't hear. Patricia writes her report in the car outside, recommends permanent guardianship without reservation. Some placements are obvious. This is one of them. Day 30 arrives with spring trying to break through winter's grip. Crocuses push through half-frozen ground. Trees show the first hint of buds. Portland remembering that darkness doesn't last forever. Multnomah County Courthouse looks the same as it did a month ago. Same wood paneling, same weight of consequence. But David feels different walking through the doors. Last time he was hoping. Now he's certain. Judge Henderson's courtroom fills slowly. David and Margaret on one side. Empty chairs where Christine should be, but isn't. Patricia Johnson in the witness section. Grace took the morning off to attend. Robert closed the cafe to be here. Maya sits in a waiting room down the hall. A child advocate stays with her, coloring books and juice boxes, distraction from the adults deciding her future. Judge Henderson enters. Everyone rises, the formality of law playing out in prescribed movements. We're here to review the temporary custody arrangement for Maya Walker. Mr. Morrison, how has the 30-day period gone? Margaret stands. Your Honor, my client has exceeded every requirement. Maya is attending school regularly. Her grades are excellent. Medical evaluations show significant health improvements. She's stable, happy, and thriving. Ms. Johnson, your assessment? Patricia stands. I recommend permanent guardianship, Your Honor. The bond between Mr. Morrison and Maya is genuine. He's provided stability, safety, and appropriate care. This placement serves the child's best interests. The judge reviews documents, flips through Patricia's report, studies photos showing Maya's progression, bruised and frightened in week 1, healthy and smiling by week 4. Where is the aunt? Christine Walker? Margaret speaks. She was properly served, Your Honor. Chose not to appear. We have documentation that she voluntarily relinquished care and has made no contact with Maya in 30 days. Has anyone reached out to Ms. Walker to confirm her position? I have, Your Honor. Patricia stands again. I spoke with her by phone last week. She stated clearly that she believes Maya is better off with Mr. Morrison. She's not contesting guardianship. Judge Henderson nods, writes notes. The scratch of pen on paper fills the quiet. Then the courtroom door opens. Christine Walker walks in. She looks different than she did a month ago. Hair cut and styled, makeup applied carefully, wearing a dress instead of sweatpants. She walks to the front of the courtroom with her head up, but her hands shaking. Ms. Walker. Judge Henderson's voice shows no surprise. Family court judges learn to expect the unexpected. You're late. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I wasn't sure I should come. But you're here now. Do you wish to contest this guardianship? Christine looks at David, then at the empty spot where Maya should be. Her eyes fill. No, Your Honor, I don't want to contest it. I want to say something, if that's allowed. Judge Henderson considers. Go ahead. Christine takes a breath, steadies herself. A month ago, I told Mr. Morrison to take Maya. I said it out of anger and frustration. But it was the truth under the anger. I couldn't give her what she needed. I was drowning and pulling her down with me. Her voice shakes but doesn't break. These 30 days have been the hardest of my life. Not because I miss having her there, though I do, but because I had to look at myself, really look, at what I'd become, how I'd failed my sister, failed Maya. Christine wipes her eyes. I've been going to counseling 3 times a week, got a new job with day hours, started paying off my debts. I'm trying to become someone my sister would be proud of, someone Maya could be proud of. That's commendable, Ms. Walker, but it doesn't address the question of guardianship. I know. What I'm saying is, Mr. Morrison should have permanent custody, legal adoption if that's possible. Maya deserves stability. She deserves someone who can give her everything. That's not me. Maybe someday, but not now. She turns to look at David directly. Thank you for being what I couldn't. Thank you for seeing her when she was invisible. Thank you for keeping whatever promise your daughter asked you to keep. Christine walks to her seat, sits down, holds herself together through visible effort. Judge Henderson writes more notes. The silence stretches. Then she speaks to the bailiff. Bring Maya Walker in, please. 5 minutes later, the door opens again. Maya walks in holding the child advocate's hand. She sees the courtroom full of people, sees David, sees Christine. Her steps slow. The advocate guides her to the witness chair, too big for her small frame. Her feet don't touch the ground when she sits. Judge Henderson softens her voice. Hi, Maya, I'm Judge Henderson. Do you know why you're here? Maya nods. Can you tell me? To see if I can live with Uncle David forever. That's right. I want to ask you some questions. Is that okay? Another nod. How do you like living with Mr. Morrison? I like it a lot. He makes me breakfast, helps with homework, takes me to doctor appointments. He doesn't yell. Does he make you feel safe? Yes. Do you want to keep living with him? Maya's eyes fill with tears. Yes, please. He's the only one who... She stops, looks at Christine. I'm sorry, Aunt Christine. but he makes me feel like Sophie said he would. What did Sophie say? That her daddy was the best daddy in the world, that he'd help me if I needed it. She was right. Judge Henderson leans forward. Maya, do you understand that if I say yes, Mr. Morrison will be your legal guardian? That means he makes decisions about school, doctors, where you live. He becomes responsible for you. Like a dad? Very much like a dad. Then yes, I understand, and I want that. The judge looks at the small girl in the too big chair, sees what everyone else sees. A child who's found home after being lost. A child who's chosen her family even though biology didn't give it to her. Thank you, Maya. You can sit with Mr. Morrison now. Maya scrambles down, runs to David's side. He puts his arm around her shoulders. Feels her lean into him with complete trust. Judge Henderson straightens her papers, pronounces judgment. After reviewing all evidence and testimony, I find that permanent guardianship to David Morrison serves the best interests of Maya Walker. Mr. Morrison has demonstrated capability, commitment, and appropriate care. The child has expressed clear preference, and the biological guardian has voluntarily supported this arrangement. The gavel falls. Permanent guardianship is granted. This court will retain jurisdiction for 6-month review. If all continues well, we'll finalize adoption proceedings at that time. Congratulations, Mr. Morrison. Take care of this little girl. David can't speak, can only nod. Maya is crying into his side. Happy tears this time. Christine approaches them slowly, kneels beside Maya. I'm sorry I wasn't better for you, but I'm glad he is. Maya hugs her aunt. You can visit, right? The judge said you can visit. Once a month. If that's okay with your dad. The word lands. Dad. Said out loud. Official now. David finds his voice. Once a month, and we'll see how it goes. You're still family, Christine? We just needed to make Maya safe first. Christine nods, stands, walks out of the courtroom with her head high, not defeated, freed from a burden she carried with more love than capability. Outside the courthouse, Robert and Grace wait. They see David and Maya emerge, see the smiles, know without asking that family just redefined itself. Celebration lunch, Robert offers. Absolutely. They go to Riverside Cafe, sit at their table, the one where everything started. Robert brings champagne for the adults, sparkling cider for Maya. They toast to new beginnings. And David thinks about Sophie, about promises kept, about grief that transforms into purpose, about how love finds a way forward even when the path seems impossible. The weeks following the hearing blur together in the best way. Maya settles deeper into life on the hill. Her nightmares decrease, her laughter increases. She joins the art club and comes home with paintings that David frames and hangs with pride. But while building home with Maya, David hasn't forgotten Sophie's larger message. People matter more than numbers. One child saved is good. Many children saved is better. He starts meeting with Grace twice a week, planning something bigger than breakfast at a cafe, something systematic, something that could help families navigate the nightmare of rare disease diagnosis and treatment. They sit in David's study, whiteboards filled with ideas, flowcharts showing where families fall through cracks, statistics about bankruptcy rates and insurance denials, and children who die waiting for approval. What we need, Grace says during week 3 of planning, is a central hub, one place families can call when they get the diagnosis and don't know what to do next. Medical navigation, David agrees. Someone who speaks both doctor and insurance company, who can translate the jargon and fight the denials. Financial assistance for the gaps insurance won't cover. Housing support for families who have to travel for treatment. Mental health counseling. Parents and kids both. The list grows. The scope expands. What started as a simple idea becomes something comprehensive. Something that could actually change outcomes. David commits $2 million from his personal funds. Knows it's not enough, but it's a start. He approaches Morrison Pharmaceuticals board, presents the plan with passion, but also hard data. ROI calculations that show how supporting families improves medication adherence, how reducing stress improves treatment outcomes, how good PR increases stock value. The vote is close, 8-5 in favor. Richard Hoffman votes yes this time, surprises everyone, including himself. After the meeting, Richard pulls David aside. I voted against you last time. Thought you were being irrational, letting grief cloud judgment. I remember. I was wrong, not about the business case, about what matters. My daughter survived her illness partly because we could afford every option, partly because we had insurance that said yes instead of no, partly because we got lucky. Other families aren't lucky. They're just broke and broken. Richard hands David an envelope. $100,000 for the program, and I want to volunteer. I have connections with insurance executives, with pharmaceutical boards. Let me use them for something good. David takes the envelope, shakes Richard's hand. Welcome to the team. Robert joins next, walks into David's office unannounced one Tuesday afternoon, sets a check on the desk. $50,000. That's everything I have, David. Every penny this cafe has made in 10 years. It's yours. Robert, this is your life savings. My life savings was supposed to save my son. It didn't. But maybe it can save someone else's. That feels like better math. David argues. Robert doesn't budge. Finally accepts because refusing would dishonor what Robert is trying to do. Honor Daniel's memory. Turn tragedy into something useful. The team assembles. Grace as medical director, Patricia Johnson as family services coordinator, Robert as operations manager, Richard as insurance liaison, David as founder and funding source. They name it Warm Hearts Initiative. Maya designs the logo, two hearts intertwined, one labeled Sophie, one labeled Maya, both colored with rainbow crayons. They set a launch date, April 15th, 2 months after the custody hearing. 2 months to build infrastructure, hire staff, create intake processes, partner with hospitals. The work is enormous, the timeline aggressive, but grief has taught them all the same lesson. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. Help people today. April 15th arrives with proper spring weather, 70 degrees, clear skies. Cherry blossoms peak bloom along the waterfront, Portland at its most beautiful. Oregon Children's Hospital atrium has been decorated since dawn. Banners painted by patients. Windows with clouds. Hearts with hope. The visual language of children who understand struggle. 200 chairs face a small stage. They fill slowly through the morning. Families dealing with rare diseases. Donors who contributed. Medical staff who volunteered. Media covering the story. David stands backstage with Maya. She wears her blue dress with white clouds, hair brushed until it shines, nervous energy making her bounce. What if I mess up my speech? Then you mess up. Nobody here expects perfection. They just want to hear your heart. What if I cry? Then you cry. Crying means you care. That's not weakness. Okay. She takes a breath. I can do this. You can do this. The program begins at 10. A hospital administrator welcomes everyone, thanks them for coming, explains the need for programs like Warm Hearts. Grace speaks first, explains medical navigation in clear terms. How many families don't understand their diagnosis, don't know what questions to ask, don't realize they can appeal insurance denials? She promises Warm Hearts will bridge that gap. Patricia follows, talks about the social worker shortage, about families drowning in paperwork while their children fight for life, about how Warm Hearts will provide dedicated advocates for every enrolled family. Richard steps up next. His presence surprises some people. CFO of a major pharmaceutical company admitting the system is broken, promising to use his influence to fix it. 8 years ago, my daughter had aplastic anemia. She survived because we had resources, because insurance said yes, because we got lucky. But luck shouldn't determine which children live. Warm Hearts exists to level the field, to make sure every child gets the fighting chance my daughter got. Applause fills the atrium, warm and sustained. Robert speaks forth. His voice shakes, but his words are clear. My son Daniel died 10 years ago. Same disease, different outcome. I've spent 10 years angry at the system, angry at insurance companies, angry at a world that lets children die for lack of money. He pauses, gathers himself. I'm done being angry. Anger doesn't save lives. Action does. Warm Hearts is action. Every family we help, every insurance denial we overturn, every child who gets treatment they couldn't afford otherwise. That's Daniel's legacy. That's every lost child's legacy. The applause deepens, several people crying openly. Then it's David's turn. He walks to the podium carrying Sophie's letter. The paper is worn now, handled so many times, laminated to preserve it, a roadmap for how to live after loss. 6 months ago, I lost my daughter Sophie, 8 years old, brightest light I've ever known. For months after, I couldn't see past my grief. Couldn't imagine feeling anything but empty. He looks at Maya sitting in the front row. She gives him a small wave. Then a little girl walked into a cafe, asked if she could sit down, asked for warmth, and in helping her, I found what Sophie had been trying to teach me all along. He holds up the letter. This is what Sophie wrote before she died. She asked me to find her hospital friend Maya, to help her, to remember that people matter more than numbers. He reads the letter aloud, every word, every misspelling, every backwards letter. The entire atrium goes silent except for quiet crying. When he finishes, he folds the letter carefully. Sophie was 8 years old. She was dying, and she was worried about someone else, about making sure her friend wouldn't be alone. That's the heart of Warm Hearts, noticing who's alone, who's scared, who's falling through cracks, and doing something about it. He steps back, gestures to Maya, but you don't need to hear from me. You need to hear from her. Maya walks to the podium, so small she needs the step stool Robert built. She clutches her note cards but doesn't look at them, just stares out at 200 faces watching her. For a long moment, she doesn't speak. David starts to worry, starts to move toward her. Then Maya finds her voice. My name is Maya. I'm 6 years old, almost 7. The microphone makes her voice too loud. Someone adjusts it. My mommy died last year. I miss her every day. I got sick when I was really little. Had to stay in the hospital. I was really scared. She looks at David. He nods encouragement. Sophie was in the bed next to mine. She was older, 8. She taught me not to be scared of the beeping machines. She drew me pictures of windows so I could remember there was sky outside. She gave me her bear when, Maya's voice cracks, when she had to go away. Tears stream down her face, but she keeps talking. Sophie told me her daddy would help me someday. I didn't understand, but then I met him, Uncle David, except now he's just Dad. She smiles through tears. Dad makes sure I have food and warm clothes, and I'm not scared anymore. He kept Sophie's promise. She looks directly at the families in the audience, the parents with children fighting for their lives. I know there are other kids like me, kids who are scared, who don't have someone to help. Warm Hearts is for them, so they know someone sees them, someone cares, someone will fight for them like Sophie fought for me, like Dad fights for me every day. Maya steps down from the stool, walks to David. He picks her up, holds her while she cries into his shoulder. The standing ovation lasts 3 minutes. Not just applause, affirmation, agreement, proof that this matters. The back door of the atrium opens. Christine walks in. She's wearing the same dress from the courthouse. Hair neat, makeup careful. She looks sober, looks healthy, looks like someone working very hard to become better. She makes her way to the front. David sees her, tenses slightly, but Christine's expression holds no anger, just humility. Maya sees her aunt. Aunt Christine! Christine approaches the stage. Someone hands her a microphone without her asking. I'm Christine Walker, Maya's aunt. Her voice is quiet but carries. I was supposed to take care of her when my sister died. I tried. I failed. She looks at Maya in David's arms. For a long time, I was angry at Mr. Morrison. Thought he was judging me, trying to steal my niece, but he wasn't stealing. He was saving Maya from my failures, giving her what I couldn't. Christine wipes her eyes. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to say thank you. Thank you for seeing Maya when she was invisible. Thank you for keeping your promise to your daughter. And thank you for showing me that love sometimes means letting go. She looks at the audience. Warm Hearts isn't just for kids. It's for families learning to heal. I'm in counseling now, working a better job, paying my debts, Maybe someday I'll be someone Maya can be proud of. Until then, I'm grateful there's someone she can count on. Christine hands back the microphone, walks to Maya, kisses her forehead, then returns to her seat in the back. The program continues. Families enrolled in Warm Hearts share their stories. A single mother whose son has a genetic disorder, a father whose insurance denied his daughter's treatment, a grandmother raising grandchildren with medical needs she can't afford. Each story ends the same way. Warm Hearts stepped in, fought the insurance company, found financial assistance, provided housing during treatment, offered counseling when hope ran low. 50 families helped in the pilot phase. The goal is 500 in year one. The event concludes at noon. People linger, talking, crying, hugging, finding community in shared struggle. David stands with Maya, Grace, Robert, and Richard, an unlikely family built from grief and purpose. We did it, Grace says. We started. David corrects. The real work begins Monday. Robert laughs. Always the optimist. Always the realist. They return to Riverside Cafe that evening, their table, their tradition, the place where it all began. Robert brings hot chocolate for Maya, coffee for David, sits with them because the cafe is empty and he can. Did you ever imagine this, Robert asks? 6 months ago? Did you imagine any of this? David looks at Maya. She's drawing another window, blue sky, white clouds, a family of birds flying together. No, 6 months ago I couldn't imagine anything good ever again. And now? Now I know grief doesn't end, but it can transform, become something that helps instead of hurts. Maya looks up from her drawing. Dad? Yeah, sweetheart? Can I add Aunt Christine to this picture? She's trying really hard. Of course you can. She adds another bird to the family, smaller, flying slightly behind, but part of the formation. The evening light shifts, comes through the window at the angle that always made Sophie visible in memory. David sees her face in the light, or thinks he does, smiling, proud, at peace. Thank you, he whispers, not to the light, to his daughter, wherever she is. Thank you for sending her to me. The light fades, normal evening returns, but the feeling remains. The sense that Sophie's here, not gone, just transformed, living on through every kind action, every child helped, every family saved. Maya finishes her drawing, shows it to David and Robert. 5 birds flying through an open window. Sophie in front leading the way. David and Maya side by side. Christine following close. And one more bird David doesn't recognize. Who's that one? He asks. Maya smiles. Daniel, Uncle Robert's son. So he's part of the family too. Robert's eyes fill. He nods. Can't speak, just nods. Outside, spring settles fully into Portland. Trees bloom, days lengthen. The city shakes off winter and remembers that hope returns, always, if you give it space to grow. David pays the bill, though Robert protests. They walk to the car through evening air that smells like cherry blossoms, impossibility. Maya takes his hand. Dad? Yeah, I'm happy. 3 words, simple, true, worth more than every number David ever worshipped. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. They drive home through streets that have become familiar, up the hill to the house that's no longer empty, to Sophie's room that's now Maya's room, to a life built from broken pieces that somehow fit together into something whole. That night, David tucks Maya into bed, purple comforter, drawings on the walls. Sophie's bare in her arms. Will you tell me about Sophie? What do you want to know? Everything. I want to remember her right. So David tells stories about a little girl who loved to draw, who counted beeps with hospital roommates, who believed kindness mattered more than anything else. Maya falls asleep listening, smiling, safe. David stays for a while, watching her breathe. The second daughter, this gift from the first, this proof that love doesn't end. It multiplies. He stands, walks to the door, looks back once. In the dim nightlight glow, he sees 2 girls sleeping, one in present, one in memory, both teaching him the same lesson. People matter more than numbers. Always have. Always will. He closes the door softly, walks to his own room, sleeps better than he has in months. And somewhere in the clouds, A little girl with a crayon smiles because her daddy kept his promise, because her friend found home, because warmth spreads exactly the way she knew it would. One heart at a time, one saved child at a time, forever. Warm Hearts Initiative has helped over 500 families navigate rare disease treatment since its founding. 1 in 10 children in America will face a rare disease diagnosis. Most families cannot afford proper care without assistance. Medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States. Insurance companies deny 30% of rare disease treatment claims. You can help change these numbers. WarmHeartsInitiative.org. Every child deserves a fighting chance. Every family deserves support. Every person matters more than the numbers. Final image. Maya's drawing of 5 birds flying through an open window toward blue sky, the end.